So we'll be starting with the understanding of BPM process management. So what is BPM, right? It's one of the standard and notation and most commonly used standard and notation of the object management group, right? So that is going to be very core of our training session where we will be having in-depth understanding with the basics and disciplines of BPM. Okay, and what is its overview, what are the key elements, okay, which we'll be using in order to develop any workflow. So we'll have all the what you can say, each and every element which has been commonly used in order to develop the workflow. So what is BPM, what is the workflow, what are their core elements, right, in terms of gateways, flow objects, connecting lines, all these things we'll be learning. Then, once we have an understanding on at least on BPM, we'll understand the Camunda architecture. So, Camunda, as you know, will be having first overview and understanding of what is the Camunda BPM, how it has been a differentiator with other BPM products, which are available into the market. Okay, then it's journey about Camunda, how it has been evolved and why it is getting more and more popular with the time. So it's been there in the industries with the registered company from more than a decade. However, it has been there even before that because the owners of that particular organizations were part of the JVPM as well. So we'll go into the detail of Camunda. Then it has Camunda 7 as well as Camunda 8. So Camunda 8 is more of a you can say having lot of architectural changes on top of Camunda 7, which has been launched last year. It is like similar to Camunda 7, okay, in terms of the functionality, but there are so many key differentiations are there between 7 and 8, and best practices around when to go for Camunda 7 and Camunda 8, as well as we will detail have a architecture understanding of both the versions of Camunda 7 as well as Camunda 8. Then we'll also discuss how and what are the use cases where we can think about of migrating the applications from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8. Right? So with that, right, we'll be having detailed understanding. And in Camunda 8, the game changer engine, right, which has been introduced is ZB engine. So we will have a detailed understanding of ZB engine with the overview, how it has helped the Camunda 8, right, in order for its high performance and the reason of introducing this engine to the Camunda 8. After that, after understanding the architecture, we will be doing the installation and setup of Camunda in our local environment. I hope everybody is having system with them, and yeah, so we'll also understand the prerequisites in order to install that. So, as I mentioned before, right, we will be doing the installation of Camunda enterprise version. Okay, why? The reason is when we have enterprise version, right, which is a licensed product and it comes with some licensing cost. However, the what you can say a beautiful part of this product is for the learning and takeaways, right? A product is giving a free trial for the complete 30 days to learn this product, right? The enterprise version features as well. So we'll do that, and we will be using this enterprise version throughout our training in order to uh, gain more knowledge on the enterprise features as well. Because more and less, when we are working in any organization, we'll be working and using most likely the enterprise product. However, we'll also do understand the installation configuration part for the open source, which is a community version, which is completely free. So as you know, it's completely free and community version. It also has all the basic features involved, right? In order to develop a workflow, but with some limited features, what you can say, apart from the enterprise version. Also, the look and feel and the ease of use, you can see some differentiation in terms of community as well as enterprise version. That is why we have a licensing cost involved when we are using enterprise version. So we We'll be doing installation, and then we'll be using it. And here we will also understand what are the different types of you can say versions are there for Camunda, and how differently, right, we can do the installation, whether it will be on-prem, if it is going to be on cloud based, or in Camunda 8 we have a SaaS version as well, which is a software as a service, right? And if we want to do the installation on Kubernetes or Docker, how we can do that installation. So all these things we'll be understanding in the installation part. Then we'll move on to the process modeling. So process modeling is a very core part in terms of after understanding the BPM concepts, right? The process modeling is something like we'll be developing or designing some workflows, or you can say the use cases, right? In terms to gain the knowledge on uh, process modeling elements, which am I audible now, guys?
Yes, yes, yes,
Great. And is my screen visible?
yes.
Yes.
Good. Cool. So we were discussing about the process modeling part. Let me summarize it. So we will be here, right, focusing the. If somebody is not speaking, can you go on mute, please? Yeah. So we'll be learning about the process modeling part. So in BPM, right, whatever the core elements we have, which is divided into mostly in the four categories of flow objects, gateways, swim lanes, and artifacts. Okay, so that we will be maybe discussing almost focusing the main part and core area of these things, right? So flow objects and gateways is, you can say, the heart and soul whenever we are designing and developing any process flow. So we will be substantially focusing on that part. So when you talk about the flow objects and gateways, maybe somebody who's already from the BPM background may be knowing about it. So we will learn about the different types of events, right? Activities and gateways, which are part of Camunda BPM. What are the purpose of those events? We'll go in depth and in detail, and using those particular elements when as and when we are learning the theoretical concepts of those elements, we will be also developing or the use cases in our end, because we will be already having Camunda being installed in our machine, and we will be using those concepts, right, in order to design some use cases by using those events, gateways, and activities. So that is more of a core part, which I think we'll be focusing almost for a week or 2 week minimum. Okay. And there, right, once we learn about the basics about the gateways, events, swim lanes, and flows, we will move on to the, you can say, intermediate to an advanced concepts as well, where we understand the concept of sub processes, right? Call activity, reusability concepts, and then we'll move on to the exception handling. So, like in any programming language, we have exception handling in order to handle, you can say, error prone cases, right? BPM also provides standards and notations, right? There are different ways of handling the exception. So, we'll go and learn those exception handling scenarios in depth. And after that, there are some advanced concepts as well of listeners markers that we will learn. And after that, we'll go for the process execution. So in order to start the process, right, from different ways how we can initiate a process, then there are different components are there, which is inbuilt UI provided by the Camunda BPM. So that we will be discussing. And after that, we will be more focusing on the Camunda modeler. So Camunda modeler, I think if you before joining the meeting, maybe if somebody has done an overview about the Camunda, this is one of the most common component which has been provided and used across Camunda, right, by the developers. So Camunda modeler, you can think about an ID which is been provided by the product and is been more used by the developers and BA. Why the BA or business analyst? Because we'll learn if we learn BPM technology, right, or BPM notations, it is so much user friendly, and as well as it is more of a graphical representation of workflow. So even if you don't have any programming language, right, or people who are from non-technical background, they can also understand what is this business or process flow is doing. Likewise, if you want to design or develop any workflow, right, by writing any programming language, if you are coming from a non-technical background, you will not be able to understand it quickly. However, when you work into BPM, the beauty is it is being widely adopted, because even people who are from the non-technical background can understand on a very high level what this workflow is doing, because of the graphical representation of your workflow. So all the core elements, right, they have been can be dragged and dropped from the palette. And when you do it right, it is similar to like if you have used any other Confluence or other product as well in order to do some of you have created any flow charts. So similar to that flow charts, right? You can also develop your workflow, and that's where, right? Apart from developers in the uh, uh, design phase, BAs and product owners also can use and define the skeleton model of your application using the Camunda modeler. So it's a uh, module given by the product to design and develop your processes using all the three standards and notations of BPM, DMN, as well as case management. However, case management has been discontinued in Camunda 8, but we will be discussing it as well, because if few of you, right, you will be working on Camunda 7 version, then it will be really, really helpful. Apart from that, it also provides additional features as well, which is like you can also debug your processes. Okay, likewise, whenever you develop something, right, you also debug. Likewise, in any ID, let's say you are developing a Java program, or you want to debug whether that particular code before deployment, right, will be working fine or not. So Camunda also provides a debugging feature in the modeler itself, which means before you deploy, right, you will be able to validate whether that particular workflow which you have designed, right, will be doing the justice based on the requirement, or what is the like you can also validate the outcome, where end-to-end workflow you can test by using this feature. Also, it provides the forms. So forms is a user interface for the user activities, right? So it is also a low code platform where you just drag and drop a few key components in order to create a form which will be associated with the user task. So we will go in depth and detail what are the user tasks, what are the system tasks, what is basically a task, right? All these things will go into the detail. But just for understanding, right, whenever you design or develop a BPM workflow, it has certain activities involved, which is either a user based or it will be a non-user based, which is also known as system based system task. So whenever we are having user task involved in any BPM workflow, what you can say, the token will be waiting for an external participant interaction, right? Which we like have a concept of groups in BPM or rule. So any person who has an access for that particular user task, right? We have assigned a particular uh, group to that particular user task, can log in, can claim that particular task and work on that. So to work on that, we have forms associated with that. So by using Camunda, you can also create the forms and associate it with the those particular user tasks. That is also a completely low code. So once we do that, we'll move on to the decision management. It is again very popular and most widely used standard and notation by the OMG. So it is also known as DMN. What is the latest version of DMN, right? And what are the like there are many BPM tools which are mainly focusing on DMN like Signavio and many other BPM tools as well. So Camunda also provides the support for DMN. In this, we will learn in depth about DMN. What are the use cases for going and use of the DMN? Where we should avoid using the DMN? What are the key components of DMN? There are some hit policies are predefined. How they work? Okay, so that we will learn. And once we have a understanding on the BPM and DMN, we'll move on to the case management, which is the third topology and notation provided by the OMG. Okay, that is CMMN. So here, right, it is similar to BPM. Okay, but what the key differences? What are the best practices around in order to use the case management? Right. One key thing is whatever we can develop using BPMN, we can also develop using case management. Okay, so and vice versa. However, there are standard principles which has been defined by the OMG, right? So based on that, once we go into the depth, we will also understand where we should go and use the case management and where we should go and use the business process management notations in order to develop our workflows. But to have a high level of understanding for now, right? These are the three notations we have, and the third notation is decision management, which will be used along with either BPMN or case management in order to execute or fire your business rules. Okay. So after having the understanding and knowledge of Camunda modeler, okay, and the three standards and notation, we will learn also the different, the other UIs also, which has been provided by Camunda. So that is the beauty of using any BPM. Okay, when you are using that, right, there are mainly three different additional UIs which are been part of the product version as well. So we'll be having in-depth analysis of that as well, which is to term as first is the task list. So task list has been intended for the and business user. So whenever you deploy any processes which you develop using Camunda Modeler, you will deploy those processes, and based on that, if there are any user tasks are involved where end users has to perform any action, so inbuilt UI is been provided by using which, right, users who have an access can log into that particular UI and can act on those particular tasks where they have the authorized roles. Okay, they can pick those tasks, they can process those tasks, and all the task related life cycle, right, they can perform using that inbuilt UI. Uh, Another one is you can say operate in the Camunda 8. However, in Camunda 7, it is known as cockpit. So, as the name suggests, right, it has been provided for the administrative purpose, right? What is administrative purposes? Likewise, if you want to see in depth, if it is you want to migrate some instances from when you we learn about the versioning concepts as well in the BPM. If you migrate some instances from one version to another version, or if you want to suspend or resume some task, if you want to change some variables of an instance of your deployed processes, right? And you want to see what are the users and group, how you can manage those things. So, and also there are some predefined reports and dashboards will be there, right? Which will give you some information about the capacity and the utilization of the resources. All these things, right? You can see in depth by using cockpit or operate tool. So there, right? You don't have to you can say develop any UI, but it is already been provided. So which is very helpful when you are debugging or doing any administrative task. So we'll learn about those concepts as well. And last is optimize, which is being used for the process mining. Okay, so process mining, I think you might be aware of that concept. Is something it's give you in-depth detail, okay, of your deployed processes. Okay, it will give you some reports, inbuilt reports, heat maps, and dashboards which help stakeholders in order to improve your processes, right? So you create some processes, okay, you deploy that, and with that time you will improve those processes, right? So in terms of that, in order to improve those processes, there are predefined or pre-configured reports are been there, by using which you can see in-depth details of your deployed process, and you can also check how you can improve your processes in terms of performance or other factors as well. So we will learn all these four UIs as well in depth, and then we'll move on to the integration and APIs. That is very powerful concept, okay, of integrating your Camunda BPM workflows, right, with the other systems. And that is one of the whole and soul reason as well when you are developing any workflows, right, mostly uh, towards the orchestration journey. Okay, so by using BPM platform, we can do the automation. Okay, BPA, which has been core part, where we are automating some mundane or repetitive task, or maybe you can say human task, right? And second concept is doing the orchestration. So orchestration will go into the depth and detail. What is the orchestration purpose? I think most of you are already aware of that, but for the benefit of the interest of other who are not aware of that, will go into the depth of this concept as well. And as part of the orchestration part, right, Camunda 8 is also been termed and known as a universal orchestrator, which means it has a lot of features and capabilities in order to integrate with end systems, whether it's user tasks, systems, or applications, or legacy systems. So, what are the different ways of integrating the Camunda with the external systems? Maybe with the databases, or you can say the messaging queues. Like we have Kafka, RabbitMQ, JMS, and Apache MQ, right? With them, how we can integrate, and there are a lot of connectors are available in order to integrate with those predefined configurable connectors. Okay, so that we will learn how we can integrate with the other microservices using REST API. And REST API, normally we all know, right? They have their own standards and protocols. So when we want to integrate with any REST API, right, we don't have to code much. Only it's a configurable parameter. There is a predefined activity is there in Camunda, by using which you just have to select the features, drag and drop features are there, and you have to give the configuration. With that, you will be able to integrate or consume or produce any REST API which has been developed by any other application or system. And after that, we'll move on to some advanced features, which is like what are the sub processes and what are the event based sub processes are there. What is the multi instance feature in BPM? Okay. And in error handling, we have a compensation handling is there. What is a message correlation? How we can use timers for escalating the workflows and to manage the escalations in our BPM designed workflows. And along with that, we'll also learn about the markers as well and listeners concepts as well. So apart from that, we'll learn a multi-instance concept in order to execute the task sequentially or parallelly. What does it mean is a task can be executed multiple times. Like you might have used in your programming languages while or for loop, right? Why it has been used is in order to execute the similar behavior or pattern by a logic where it could be executed more than once, right? So we have a iteration going on with the for and while loop. Similar concept we also have in the BPM where a same or similar activity, right, can be executed multiple times, which is known as multitask. And it can be executed either parallelly, which means simultaneously, or it can be executed sequential way as well. So these are again advanced features and powerful concepts when we are designing our workload. So we'll go and learn those that. After that, we will learn about the error handling and troubleshooting. What are the different features are there in order to do the error handling and troubleshooting? What is a retry mechanism? What are the default configurations provided by the Camunda? How we can change and update them, right? How we can debug the error instances using the inbuilt UI, which, as I already told, right, we have Camunda modeler in order to debug our workflows, as well as when we deploy those processes into our non-production or production environments, right? We have also an admin UI called as cockpit or operate, by using which we can do the troubleshooting of our deployed instances. And yeah, after that again, Camunda integration by using the Spring Boot application. So we will be creating from the scratch one Spring Boot application which has the dependencies of the Camunda, okay, in our microservice by using one of the dependency injection, maybe Maven or Gradle, okay. So by using which we'll create a Spring Boot application and then we'll be integrating it with the REST API. We will also use the service task. So what is a service task? Basically, like if there is any custom logic we want to execute programmatically, right? We can write that particular logic in our Java class, and that particular class, right, can be called from our BPM flow. Okay, so that also will do. We'll write some logics where we'll call the service task. We also provide some variables to that particular service task. We'll do some operation and logic on that, and then we'll also return one output variable which we'll be using in our workflows for the rest of the journey. Then integration with the messaging queues. Maybe we'll take one of the queue, maybe Kafka, which is quite popular as well in most of the organizations. So we'll try to do the integration with one of the messaging queue. And after that, the database, what are the supported database, what are the key configurations, walkthrough of the product tables, data objects, and other things. And then how we can do the monitoring. And in last, when we are concluding, right, we'll be discussing some practical workflows as well. So at least one or two workflows I'll be taking up, which will help us to understand, right, the use case of Camunda BPM in any organization, right? So which will have all the concepts of BPMN, case management, DMN, forms, advanced features, and integration. Everything will be discussing in that particular workflow. So this is more about the TOC, and I think with the benefit of the interest of time, I think we can stop today. But with that, if you guys have any specific topic, right, to be involved in our training, right, which you can see or maybe think it is not part of the TOC, or you want to learn that specific topic as well. As I said, that will be more interactive, and I'll be happy to take those topics as well. and you can share your comments, okay, and I'll try to include those topics as well, and we'll make sure we'll touch base all those key topics. But more and less, when we go through all these topics in detail, right, with a period of 1.5 months, we'll be able to work or and have a very great understanding and grip on the Kamunda BPM. And one thing I would like to say is, I'll be trainer, right, for you throughout this training. But the more you will be interactive, I'll be giving you some assignments. Okay, that time the more and more efforts you will put, right. You have any sort of queries, you can share your screen. I'll be happy to debug those issues and help out you with the resolutions as well. But the thing is, you should be doing it by your own as well, okay, and if you have any question, you should not be hesitating it to ask. More you do it by yourself, you will be gaining the confidence on this product, right, in terms of practical implementation as well, and that is something which will be helpful for you guys when you will be working on any Kamunda related project in your organization as well. So practical implementation and doing it by yourself is going to be key. Taking the assignments seriously uh, should be there. And if that is there, right, we'll be able to achieve the goal. And I believe everybody uh, who has participated in this training, right, has a serious goal where you are devoting your time as well and money, right? So after doing all these two commitments, what commitment I need is to be interactive and do the assignments on a serious.